And the reason why is because together we can share information and learn together. You see, every day is a wonderful opportunity to be able to touch others in a very tangible way. Did you ever think that maybe just what you can say and what you can do can actually change someone's life? That's absolutely true. I love this one story of a of a family that was involved with a Chicago fire department. Yes, I love this story because of that. You see, this family, their house was on fire, and the Chicago Fire Department showed up and put the fire out, and was noticing that off to the side, a mother and a daughter were kind of crying, and they said, "What's going on?" And the mother said, "Well, we've lost everything. But what is even worse is that we don't have any fire insurance because our premium was given up because we couldn't pay the premiums. We didn't have enough money, and now we've lost everything." Well, as soon as the captain of that fire engine area, that fire department, that station, when he heard that, he said, "We got to do something about this." And so they began as a department, as a fire station, to take on that family and the restoration of that family uh, to heart. And they were able to not only raise funds, but also as well bring those, and it must have been really interesting because when they finally got new accommodations, they even helped them find accommodations. And when they found the accommodations, the fire department supplied them with all of that particular station, supplied them with all the furniture, all the clothing, everything that they needed. And then they presented them with a $50,000 check that they had been able to raise through a GoFundMe account. It was an absolutely wonderful act of kindness, and also, a wonderful way to help rebuild a family. And I love that story because the simple fact is that those were people, and we all love firemen. I mean, firemen are the number one rated profession. People want and like firemen because firemen, of course, are first line responders. And I love that story because they saw a need, and they didn't just talk about the need, they actually reached out and touched that need. And, you and I, we can do so very, very much. And I'm always loving those good news stories, stories where people, they don't have to help, but they want to help. And I'm so grateful. I myself have been a recipient of that kind of care, and I've also had the opportunity to be able to do that. Over the weekend, I I have a 1965 GMC truck, and last year, my truck was kind of finicky. It was a lot better this year. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, it's a lot better this year. But last year, it's an old style truck. It has all brand new interior in it, and the motor is new and the transmission is new. And when I bought it, it looked like it was brand new under the hood. So anyway, last year, it's one of those single carburetor jobs, something from the 1965. The fellow who put it back together wanted to make it as original as possible. So when I bought it, it was as original as possible, but with new innards and new workings inside. Well, I went to the local Costco in Sherwood Park, and I don't know what happened. I must have got a bad bout of gas because I just got outside of the Costco on Broadmoor Avenue, and my truck died. I mean, it absolutely died. Well, people were going around me. Finally, this fella pulls up and he says, "What's going on?" I said, "I can't start it." And so he looks under the hood. We take off the air filter and we start fooling around with it, and it wasn't going. And we tried several times, and then finally my battery died. And then he stuck a pair of cables on it. We tried to get it going, and it just wasn't happening. So he said, "You know what? Why don't I tow you?" And he towed me to a quiet residential area in Sherwood Park, and we began to work on it. And finally, he calls his son, and his son comes over with a particular solution. It's called Quick Start. It's the old ether, and you pour it into, of course, the carburetor. And sure enough, he put it in there, and it started right away, and it was fine. He'd helped even, keeping his cables on my automobile, my truck, to be able to do that. And what was really cool is once it started, he followed me back home. And when I parked the truck, and I said, "What do I owe you?" He says, "Nothing. You owe me nothing. All I ask of you is to pay forward. When another opportunity comes to help somebody, you help somebody." Well, that opportunity came the next Sunday because I was driving home from church, and there was a guy. Now get this, he had a 1966 Ford F100, 1 year older than mine, and he was sitting on the side of the road. And I pulled up, and he kind of, mentioned me to go by, and I said, "What's going on, man?" He says, "The truck won't start." He says, "I just bought it over the weekend." And he says, "I was taking it out, and I had charged the battery, but the battery is not sufficient to start." I said, "No problem. I've got cables." I always carry a bunch of tools with me in every vehicle. And so basically, I pulled up, popped the hood. He popped his hood. We put the cables on it. It started right away. It was marvelous. And he said to me as I was closing the hood, he said, "You know how many people actually went by me, staring at me, honking at me, giving me dirty looks, and you come along and you help me?" He says, "Why'd you do it?" And then I explained to him what had happened to me. And basically, I'm paying back and paying forward. And all I'm asking you to do is the same. Well, you know something? That's what we need to do. We need to be available, and we need to be able to show some kindness and love. We never know. Our one act of kindness could actually change someone's life. Our act of kindness can elevate and, change someone's disposition and day. It just depends on looking for opportunities. I mean, there are tons of opportunities out there. And all you have to do is make the decision to get involved. Many people just these days do not want to get involved. They've done social experiments, for example, on different social media platforms. There was this guy who was basically sitting on the side of the sidewalk, and he was trying to get some help, and nobody, not one single person stopped. Then what he did was they dressed him up in a suit, and he looked fairly presentable, and he asked for help, and every single person helped him. What was the difference? Attire, dress. So let's not just look at a person because of how they dress or how they look, but let's look beyond that. Let's look to, the person inside. I admit, my family laughs about me because everywhere I go, people will ask me to help them. It's amazing. I was in Palm Springs in the United States a few years back. And this guy, he walks by about 5 or 6 people in front of me and heads right to me and says, "Sir, could you buy me breakfast?" He walked by 5 or 6 people, but there he looked at me and said, "Sir, would you buy me breakfast?" My response is, "How did you spot me?" As he said, "You just seem to have a kind face." I said, "Yes, I'll buy you breakfast." And so the simple fact is that you and I, we have this wonderful opportunity to be able to touch others. Do it, because you never know. It could actually set in motion an incredible life. You just never know. So I'm just encouraging you to be aware, to take advantage of the opportunity when the opportunity comes, because everyone needs, from time to time, a step up. And you could be the person that could actually start a life worth living for someone else. It's just a little thought for you today. Well, my name's Robert Dean Steele. If you like what you've been hearing and seeing, then I encourage you to press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel.